It can distort an adult's reality because they have an image to be distorted. When you're a child, it is shaping your reality. So we got an interesting question for discussion today. At what age should kids be allowed to use social media? Now, on most platforms, it's 13 years of age, but I'm actually going to make an argument today that that age should be much higher. So whether you agree or disagree, we're going to be taking a look at this video from CNN, the most trusted name in news, and I'll be reacting to it. So hit the subscribe button, click the bell. Now, if you're not new to the channel, you've obviously noticed a slight change. The name of the channel is now Christosophy, and it's a mixture of course, my own name and the word philosophy as we try to figure out this world together. Still same premise, still figuring out and taking a look at these videos and thinking about why people do what they do. But I just felt like that name fit what we're trying to do on the channel a little better. So subscribe, click the bell. I'm going to be pausing this video every once in a while to react. It's a CNN interview with the Surgeon General by the name of Dr. Vivek Murthy. So hopefully I didn't butcher his name. We're going to take a look.
What is the right age for a child to start using social media? I worry that right now, if you look at the guidelines from the platforms, that age 13 is when kids are technically allowed to use social media. But there are two concerns I have about that. One is, I personally, based on the data I've seen, believe that 13 is too early. And I think that it's a time, early adolescence, where kids are developing their identity, their sense of self. It's a time where it's really important for us to be thoughtful about what's going into how they think about their own self-worth and their relationships. And the skewed and often distorted environment of social media often does a disservice to many of those children.
Wow, I'm going to pause it right there. This should be, to me, the nail in the coffin on this discussion for most people, and at least a conversation starter for my skeptics. I mean, how many studies have been done? How much research has been poured into demonstrating the fact that kids' brains are not even fully developed until they're well over 20 years old? I've heard 24, 25. Heck, I'm only 26 years old. So if we have these social media platforms, whether Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, if we have these platforms that are presenting, like he said, a skewed and distorted view of reality, that's the way that things actually are. If that's being presented to people who are 25, 45, 65 and older, and they can't even get a grasp on it, if they can't even control it, if they're having problems with being addicted to this social media, of letting it skew their view of reality, then what are we doing putting this before 13-year-olds? Because you see, it can affect an older mind, but it will shape a younger mind. And that's much harder to get away from. And he also said, they're at this crucial stage of life. I would argue the most crucial when it comes to developing who these kids are going to be. And personally, I think that these social media companies, they're very well aware of the effect that their platforms have and the content on them have on young minds. And they have some ideas as well about what kind of effect that's going to have on the populace. We don't know. We can guess that it's not very good when you're constantly shaped habitually to scroll dopamine for up to hours and hours. Some people have addictions where they're doing this stuff for hours on end. So this is obviously very dangerous. And this is just the first point. Let's see what else he has to say.
But the other concern I have is that these rules around age are inconsistently implemented. We have some of the best designers and product developers in the world who have designed these products to make sure people are maximizing the amount of time they spend on these platforms. And if we tell a child, use the force of your willpower to control how much time you're spending, you're pitting a child against the world's greatest product designer.
This is elementary. If you go to a gym, right, and you have dumbbells there, they're obviously, the equipment is meant to be used by adults, people with a certain amount of physical muscle development, right? If you take a toddler in there, it's not even close. It's going to seriously harm and hurt them. They have no chance of resisting the weight, right? In any standard gym, that's why there are rules. You must be 18 or older, 21 and up. So it's no different with the mind. And again, that's why I said this content will shape their minds because they can't resist it at all. It's not even like a gym where they have, maybe they start with 15, 20 pound weights and it goes up to, 65 pound dumbbells and stuff like that. and then no higher because they know that you can't really handle, not many people at all can handle much more than that. The people designing social media, there is no stop point. There is no make this platform this addictive and no further. They're hitting you with 1,000-pound dumbbell. And that's why even adults, fully mature adults, are having trouble lifting this weight. So how much more are kids going to be affected by this stuff? Let's keep going.
And so that's why I think our kids need help. And what we need, which we don't have right now, is
They
we
do
need
need
transparency from social media companies as to the impact that their platforms.
Transparency. Let me pause him right there. Transparency. I wish. Look what's happening right now with Elon Musk and the Twitter files and all those things. There are seriously sinister and strange things going on below the surface of these social media platforms. And I highly doubt that the effect on children would be revealed at all, ever, right? This is almost their secret sauce, because I think if that were revealed, it might be banned for kids maybe under 17, 18. I mean, think about it this way. Social media has the potential to have more of an effect on your mind than almost anything you're allowed to do at the age of 18. Almost. Paradigms are very hard to break, very hard to shift. And so, yeah, I wish social media would be more transparent and acknowledge the effect that it has on kids. I do want to give a shout out, though, to YouTube in particular. Have you noticed that while there is a YouTube Kids, none of the other social media platforms have really followed suit with this? There's no Twitter Kids, there's no Snapchat Kids, there's no Instagram Kids or Facebook Kids. YouTube fundamentally understands that although there are restrictions on what you can upload to YouTube, it doesn't mean that everything on YouTube is for child's minds. It's not for children, right? It's for adults. And YouTube has serious restrictions. If you look at something like Twitter that has far worse things that you can access on its platform, there is no Twitter Kids, but I guarantee there are 13-year-olds using Twitter. Facebook, similar. Snapchat, certainly, right? And so at least YouTube is doing something like having a kids section where they at least try to moderate with stricter criteria what is actually allowed on the platform or what's going before these kids.
Are having on kids and which kids are being adversely affected. We also need safety standards, which we don't have. In my house right now, the vast majority of products that that we buy, that I use, have had to meet some sort of safety standard.
Wow. Let me pause it right there. This man is dropping serious truths right here. Of course, there need to be safety standards, but they'll never come unless we, at least societally, if not globally, acknowledge that social media can potentially be dangerous. Why do we have safety standards? Because the things that are being used, right, have to be used properly or made properly. Otherwise, they have the potential to be dangerous. But we've not even acknowledged that social media is dangerous. And check this out. We've seen some bad things on social media, obviously, things that were done in the real world, right, that were either talked about or created or fueled on social media. But we've never talked about the effect internally on a human being from social media. So until we even acknowledge that, there is no talk about safety regulations and safety standards. The age limitation is just the beginning, because just like a dumbbell, eventually it's dangerous for anyone. Another big facet of this is the fact that a lot of parents today use social media as a pacifier. It's the modern day pacifier, unfortunately. And so it's a co-parent. So instead of sitting and playing the boring games with your kid and letting them learn the motor skills, unfortunately, not everybody's in a situation where they can do this, but, giving the kids to grandma and grandpa, giving the kids to, a daycare or something like that, iPhone ends up being the babysitter. And obviously, this just starts with probably games and movies and things like that made for kids, but it makes a smooth and almost seamless transition into social media, maybe starting with Snapchat and TikTok and things like that. Without regulation, these kids will go from games and things to, watching stuff that they don't even understand why they're interested in it. They don't even understand why they like these things, okay? That's how young we're talking about at 13. I mean, I know when I was 13, I was still into, Cartoon Network, Boomerang, and stuff like that. I played video games and things like that. Sports was big. 13, you're just starting to, hit puberty. You're just starting to become aware of the opposite sex in that kind of way, in a romantic type of way. But that's just the beginnings of those things. And we have them fully mature and full-fledged on social media that we're allowing 13-year-olds to access. So I think there's going to be resistance. And here's the thing, like, if you're being honest with yourself, any parent at this point would be like, okay, this is a problem. a solution, if not regulation, has to be done with social media after hearing stuff like this. But any parent who would resist that, I think it's because they don't want to give up that free babysitter. They don't want to give up that free tutor. And I'm not a parent. I don't know how difficult those things can be, but whoever said being a parent was going to be easy? And no matter how many devices or technological advancements are made to make your parenting life easier, it's never going to be easy. And the most important thing, where it should never be easy, is taking the time to develop the child's minds, books, puzzles, activities, and games, and things like that, that just can't be replaced by what we can find on a phone screen. And not only can it not be replaced, but we're getting the opposite of what these kids need. Problem solving, things that are boring and challenging, but have that reward, that dopamine release at the end. They're getting a dopamine release with every single swipe. It can distort an adult's reality because they have an image to be distorted. When you're a child, it is shaping your reality. Kids don't stay kids. Kids end up adults. What kind of adults would these kids be? We don't actually even know. Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to know what you think. So hit me down in the comments below. At what age should kids be allowed to use social media? I guess I should give an answer to. I don't know, maybe 17. Hit the subscribe button if you like Christosophy. Click the bell so you don't miss when I drop new videos. I'm doing a lot of shorts too, so sometimes news moves at the speed of light now, so sometimes when I don't want to dedicate a full episode to a topic, I'll give my thoughts. You can check out some of my shorts. I've done 3 of them so far. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.